covering for over a year. Turns out he just got hard prison time. No joke. He just got found guilty in criminal court, which is incredibly hard to prove. This isn't a civil case where it's a preponderance of evidence, meaning that, well, maybe it could have happened. This is hard proof. A judge just announced him guilty, 6 months of jail time, and there is an opportunity to make it 3 years. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
I know for a fact I'm not going to go to jail. Not one day in jail. I'm going to laugh my off when all these mother are saying I'm going for 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 10 years. Bro, I'm telling you, I'm not even going to do one day, bro. They're going to give me a fine. They're going to say, don't come back to Korea. You're the one who's going to look so dumb when I don't get any jail time or anything. Like, bro, I'm going to laugh like a villain.
Yeah, well, you know, I have a feeling that clip aged pretty poorly. Damn.
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has been sentenced to 6 months and 20 days in prison with labor in Seoul, South Korea today. We're gonna get that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be around judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been tracking this from beginning to end. And today we're gonna break out the exact reasons for the guilty plea, his imprisonment, his sentence, and what happens next. So let's get into what happened today in Seoul, South Korea.
Yep.
So first of all, to just get to my opening statements, Ramzi Khalid Ismail.
I believe more of the court of law system should operate like the Korean one, man. I am so glad this guy is getting a hard time. And he's going to be the only foreigner in Korean jail. Bro, he is about to get for life.
aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all 8 charges.
Insane.
So there were 4 counts of business obstruction, 2 counts of the Minor Crimes Act, and 2 counts of the deepfake distribution. Guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, and 5 years of offender status, with his phones being permanently confiscated.
Hey, that's the hardest part, is no phone. Damn, bro. That's rough. 5 years, no phone. What the fuck do you even do? Just stare at a wall and masturbate? Like, what do you do?
But how did we get there? Well, we got there through a team effort. I started this in front of the same courtroom, and the photo here today is a photo, and once again, in front of...
You can tell Andrew is so proud of what he did here. Good for him, man. Johnny Somali called him out, and Andrew obliterated his whole life.
That same courtroom.
Yeah, have fun pulling pranks in prison, dude.
Today, but it was a team effort. My team,
I believe more public nuisance streamers should absolutely be jailed. I believe Vitaly should go back to jail too. Absolutely. If your content style is going into the general public and making their lives miserable, you deserve jail time.
Somali conviction team worked very hard submitting evidence,
And this is what I mean. People say that Andrew Esquire doesn't know what he's talking about. His law degree is a joke. His channel's a joke. He has no idea what he's saying. Andrew's been right about almost every single thing he's ever said. If you think Andrew is wrong about his takes, you're retarded. In my opinion, he's the most legitimate law channel on the entirety of YouTube. Because everybody else was saying Johnny Somali is going to walk. Andrew said, nope, he's not. He's going to jail 100%. I trust this guy's word quite a lot.
Facts, and really getting into it with this process where we wanted to have jail time instead of the normal process where foreigners are often just given a fine and let go, which we thought could be a very, very...
How do people watch shit streamers like that? Because they have miserable lives and they think it's funny for like innocent people to be harassed.
Real possibility if there was not more attention on this. And you can see we had Korean media which interviewed us, and many people from the team were there. You've got Professor Ulrich Nod, you've got Kangmin Lee, who's showed up off of X. You've got Atozi, you've got myself, Gabe, another individual who showed up who saw the coverage. You've got Atozi's editor. Everybody worked together. This was a huge team effort. There are a lot of people that aren't even pictured in this that worked together to get this done. And because of the coverage of this, and also the coverage in Korean media, as you see here, that actually led to a different result than normal. But let's get into the trial facts itself. So how did the trial start? Well, the trial started packed with observers. Now, the first time I came, there was hardly anybody in that courtroom about a year and a half ago. However, today, standing room only. People were standing, sitting on the floor, all there for Somali. They had to put up actually the red tape. They had to line people up. It was very, very much more
What
chaotic
the
than normal.
fuck?
Now, strict security was enforced. There was no phones or recording, as well as no reactions or expression. At one point, when someone smiled during the courtroom, the bailiff actually corrected them to, hey, no expressions, no, keep it serious, keep
What?
it somber. And the judge did remain the same throughout the trial. Now, the prosecutor did change in the spring from the older
Dude, criminal court must be scary as fuck. That must be scary as shit. No smiles or you're kicked out. That's crazy.
male prosecutor that was there before to a new female prosecutor.
He's never going to fart the same again. Yeah, but as the amount he's going to get out of jail, bro, it's going to be like an open tunnel. You know, it's going to be like an air ventilation unit.
Which was there today.
He won't be able to clench anymore. The shit's just going to fall out of his butthole from now on.
Now, what happened? Well, first, there was the guilty portion, because first they had to assess the guilt, because Ramsey had pled guilt on 6 of the charges, the business obstruction and the Minor Crimes Act, but still reasserted his non-guilty plea regarding the deepfakes. So the judge found Somali guilty on the deepfakes, as we predicted he would, because a reasonable person of the age and gender of the victims would experience shame at the deepfakes. The judge then went on to say, okay, you're guilty. Now let's talk about sentencing. And he said, in his opinion, there were both mitigating and aggravating factors for the sentencing of Somali.
What exactly is the Johnny Somali deepfakes? Johnny Somali created and distributed non-consensual AI-generated pornographic videos featuring himself in sexual intimate scenarios with South Korean streamers. What the fuck? Bro, that's weird as shit.
So the mitigating factors that he explained in this case were for that victims Youngman and Hank Yu did not want Somali to be punished. And there has been a settlement with Youngman that they tried.
While many Koreans do not personally hate black people, search results indicate that significant discrimination, bias, and negative stereotypes exist due to Korea's historical homogeneity and reliance. Oh, okay.
To get the charges dropped. So they weren't dropped, but the judge did say he did factor that in for mitigation. They also said that victim Bong Bong did not experience severe shame or embarrassment. And had she experienced more severe embarrassment, perhaps there would be a more harsh punishment.
Sure.
They also said, and this is very interesting, that the travel ban and the inability to return home were technical disadvantages for Somali. That was very curious to me, because if he had been allowed to leave and go home, he clearly would have not come back and not face any punishment, never gone to jail.
100%.
He would have just not come back to Korea.
Yep.
However, he did bring up aggravating factors.
Wait, he made AI porn of him f***ing another streamer and then he posted it to his stream? Are you kidding me? That might be one of the most deplorable things I have ever heard. I don't know why Bong Bong didn't claim severe emotional dismay. That's crazy.
Aggravating factors he brought up were that Somali repeatedly committed crimes primarily for YouTube revenue and broadcasted these with no regard for the victim. He also said that Somali showed clear disregard for Korean law. And this is something he understood from the files that myself and the Somali.
Yeah, the AI porn situation is getting out of control because, like, you know, little kids and people in college are taking photos of the people in their class and then being like, I really feel like the United States should most likely crack down on this shit because the AI situation is getting out of control. It really is.
Somali conviction team submitted to them showing that he didn't care about Korean law, he disrespected the judge, the prosecutor, and really the Korean system.
Like, I can also see if they're like, you can make it, but you can't distribute it. Because technically, that's kind of like the same as imagining it. And you can't police someone's thoughts, but at least make a law to where you can't distribute it. You know what I'm saying?
At large. He said that the Korean system is an absolute joke. And because of that, he wanted to show how much of a joke it was.
Shout out the president, you. F*** the judge. F*** the prosecutor. Y'all can suck my dick. Bitch ass bitches. Yeah. Suck my dick on soft.
Now, he also did bring up the risk of repeat copycat crimes and saying that because Johnny Somali is a type of streamer which can be copied and repeated, this is a risk and they need to set a precedent to deter other streamers from coming in. Now, whether or not 6 months will actually deter people is up for debate. A lot of people, even myself included, think it's not severe enough to deter everybody, but perhaps it can be some sort of deterrent. But he did factor.
In my opinion, 6 months in prison ain't nothing to scoff at, bro. 6 months would scare the out of a normal human being, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
That in as an aggravating factor. So when he handed down the sentence, he explained very clearly it was 6 months in prison with labor that will be in a specialized prison for labor, also in a prison for offenders, because he had 5 years of offender status, so he can be nowhere near women or children, and he also has to be away from certain types of locations as well.
That's crazy, bro. 5 years he can't be around any woman or child. That's nuts.
So he can't do all
He's literally for life.
sorts of labor, but he will be laboring in prison. He also will have an additional 20 days of detention, and his phones are permanently confiscated. He will never get back that Galaxy or iPhone ever again.
Good.
The judge also explained that there are several questions about flight risk and whether he would be immediately detained. They gave him the option to remain silent, but instead Johnny Somali decided to speak and decided to lie even more. So when Somali spoke, the judge asked him if he was still a student. Somali lied. He said, yes, Arizona State University. We all know this is untrue. He hasn't been a student for quite a long time. The judge asked if there's any other.
Yeah, that's something that I learned. I didn't know, but I'll just leave it at this. I believe that if you are caught lying in the court of law, the punishment should be incredibly severe. Because I was underneath the impression that you cannot lie in court. I was underneath that impression. I thought you could not do that without severe punishment of law. So I was very surprised to learn that people lie in court all the time.
Other reason why he should not be immediately detained. Somali said, I have family in my home country that I miss deeply, and I know I have to pay for my crimes, but I'd be grateful if you gave me a second chance because I think I can do better. Well, the judge kind of ignored this plea because it didn't actually answer the question of why he shouldn't be immediately detained. Of course, they're not going to let him go home. That's ridiculous. He's already been sentenced. The prosecutor stated, in fact, that he does pose a severe flight risk and should be detained immediately. Now, he was given another chance to speak to kind of respond to the prosecutor. Somali again lied and said throughout the court proceedings from 2025 to now, I have refrained from doing anything to harass the public. So I feel this has taught me a vital lesson. Of course, we know that's not true. We have the sexual harassment charges that were filed based on his activity during that period, and those are filed in the Eastern District. We also had several instances where he was harassing people in public, where he was insulting people, getting drunk.
I mean, he was getting in his underwear, grinding on a police officer and taking their gun. Like, obviously this guy should be in prison for life.
So we know that's not true. We're going to find a significant flight risk and detain him immediately. So the judge then explained that there's 7 days for both Somali or the prosecution to appeal. This is very important because the prosecution can find that this was too light. They recommended 3 years and he only got 6 months. So the prosecution has a chance to go back, go to the court and say, no, we need more time.
And that's honestly what they should do. And everybody knows what Johnny Somali did, which is public sexual harassment and public sexual assault, and distributing AI deepfakes on stream is fucking psychotic. Lock that bitch up, throw away the key. 6 months is great. I'm happy with that. Let's make it at least 3 years. And Bong Bong needs to press charges even harder. Like, comment, subscribe.